Next section, theories of emotions. Emotions is a complex, subjective experience accompanied by biological and behavioral changes. Emotion involves feeling, thinking, activation of the nervous system. Psychological changes and behavioral changes such as facial expressions. List of theories. First, evolutionary theories. Second, James Lange theory. 3. Cannon board theory. 4. Schachter theory. 5. Opponent process theory. 6. Lazarus theory. Detail going on. First, evolutionary theories. In 1870, Charles Darwin proposed that emotions evolved because they had adaptive value. For example, fear evolved because it helped people to act in ways that enhanced their chances of survival. Darwin believed that facial expressions of emotions are innate. He pointed out that facial expressions allow people to quickly judge someone's hostility or friendliness and to communicate intents to others. Recent evolutionary theories of emotions also consider emotions to be innate response to stimuli. Evolutionary theorists tend to downplay the influence of thought and learning on emotion, although they acknowledge that both can have an effect. Evolutionary theorists believe that all human cultures share several primary emotions, including happiness, contempt, surprise, disgust, anger, fear, sadness. They believe that all other emotions result from blends and different intensities of those primary emotions. Second, the James Lange theory. In 1880, two theorists, William James, Carl Lange, independently proposed an idea that challenged beliefs about emotion. This idea, which came to know as the James Lange theory, is that people experience emotions because they perceive their bodies' physiological response to external events. According to this theory, people do not cry because they feel sad. Rather, people feel sad because they cry, and likewise, they feel happy because they smile. This theory suggests that different physiological states correspond to different experiences of emotion. Subjective emotional expressions result from physiological change within our body. Example, we feel sorry because we cry, frightened because we run away from something. Look at this flow chart: stimulus, body response, and fear. Next theory, cannon board theory. Emotions provoking events induce simultaneously the subject to experiences we label as emotions and the physiological reaction that accompany them. Cannon proposed his own theory of emotion in 1920. The psychologist Walter Cannon disagreed with James Lange theory, posing three main arguments against it. People can experience physiological arousal without experiencing emotion, such as when they have been running. The racing heart in this case is not an indication of fear. Physiological reactions happen too slowly to cause experiences of emotion, which occur very rapidly. For example, when someone is in a dark alley alone, a sudden sound usually provokes an immediate experience of fear, while the physical symptoms of fear generally follow that feeling. People can experience very different emotions even when they have the same pattern of physiological arousal. For example, a person may have racing heart and rapid breathing, both when he is angry and when he is afraid. Emotion provoking events induce simultaneously the subjective experiences we label as emotions and the physiological reactions that accompany them. Look at this picture. A person experiences fear and physiological changes at a time. Look at this flow chart: stimulus, fear, and body response. The Schachter-Singer theory, two-factor theory. Emotion-provoking events produce increased arousal internal. In response to the arousal, we search the external environment in order to identify the causes behind it. In 1960, Stanley Schachter and Jerome Singer proposed a different theory to explain emotion. They said that people's experience of emotions depends on two factors: physiological arousal and the cognitive interpretation of that arousal. When people perceive physiological symptoms of arousal, they look for an environmental explanation of this arousal. The labeled people give an emotions depends on what they find in their environment. Example, if a person finds himself near an angry mob of people, when she is physiologically aroused, she might label that arousal anger. On the other hand, if she experiences the same pattern of physiological arousal at a music concrete, she might label the arousal excitement. Schachter and Singer agree that the James Lange theory that people infer emotions when they experience physiological arousal. Emotion provoking events produce increased arousal internal. In response to the arousal, we search the external environment in order to identify the causes of behind it. Look at this flow chart. Stimulus, body response, interpretation of environment, and experience fear or emotion. Next theory, opponent process theory. Solomon 1982. Emotional reactions to a stimulus are followed automatically by an opposite reaction. Repeated exposure to a stimulus cause the internal reaction to weaken and the opponent process to strengthen. Richard Solomon 1980 has developed a theory of emotion that views emotions as pair of opposites. For example, fear, relief, pleasure, pain. The opponent process theory states that when one emotion is experienced, the other is suppressed. For example, if you are frightened by a mean dog, the emotions of fear is expressed and relief is suppressed. If the fear causing stimulus continues to be present, after a while the fear decreases and the relief intensifies. Solomon and Corbett analyzed the emotions present when skydivers jump from planes. Beginners experience extreme fear as they jump, which is replaced by great relief when they land. With the repeated jumps, the fears decrease and the post-jump pleasure increases. This process may explain a variety of thrill-seeking behaviors. The opponent process theory is an attempt to link emotional states. Next theory, Lazarus Theory. In 1991, psychologist Richard Lazarus built on appraisal theory. Emotion as an outcoming of the interaction between physiological arousal and cognition. The psychologist Richard Lazarus research has shown that people's experience of emotion depends on the way they appraise or evaluate the events around them. Example, if Tracy is driving on a winding road by the edge of high cliff. She was be concerned about the danger of the road. Her passenger, on the other hand, thinks about the beauty of the view. The Tracy will probably feel frightened, while her passengers may feel exhilarated. Emotions as an outcome of the interaction between physiological arousal and cognition. The appraisal precedes cognitive labeling, simultaneously stimulating both the physiological arousal and emotional experience. Look at this picture, comparison between each theories. Common sense, stimulus, conscious feeling, fear, autonomic arousal. James Lange theory, stimulus, autonomic arousal, conscious feeling, fear. Cannon board theory, stimulus, brain activity, conscious feeling, autonomic arousal, fear. Schachter theory, stimulus, autonomic arousal, appraisal, conscious feeling, fear. Thank you. Have a good day.